Hey team, Katie here from Equestrian Movement, and welcome to another episode of our training series, You Don't Know What You Don't Know. So today we are going to talk about looking at our horse's level of reactivity and being able to differentiate whether it is because your horse has experienced trauma previously or if your horse is requiring leadership skills from you. So both can trigger our horses to give us reactive behaviours that we don't necessarily understand. We might have been through all of the things to try and rule out pain, saddle fit, bridle fit, teeth, like all of the things to get to the point of what is actually triggering a horse. And sometimes we can come to the point where we might need to look into how they've been handled in the past, or we might have to consider how we are currently handling them. First two modules of our holistic horse handling program, the first thing that we want to do is to make sure that our horses feel safe, secure and connected. So do they feel safe, secure and connected within themselves, within their environment, within their herd and within their horse-human relationship? And do they feel safe to relax? So if you've been following our YouTube channel, you'll see lots of trainings on getting our horses relaxation cues and getting them into a deeper state of relaxation. And so being able to get into that relaxation, feeling safe to relax, means that they don't feel like you are the threat. They don't feel unsafe around you. And unfortunately for some of our horses, they can have experienced that humans aren't safe. So depending on what they've been exposed to previous to getting them, if they've experienced abuse, if they've been scared, if the fear and the abuse and the being scared has come at the hands of humans, then there can be a fear around humans in general and a lack of confidence and trust within their human partner. So what fires wires? So if their handling previous to you has been a lot of fear-based handling, trying to manhandle into submission and whatnot, then the part of the brain that is trained is the fear response. So then your horse doesn't know how to respond without fear and is also scared of you and what you're going to potentially do to them. So it's a very different training process of how we work with the horses that have experienced trauma, because we basically have to rewire their brain. It does take time and we have to build trust and confidence in us. So over a period of time, we're consistently showing up for our horses to show them that we aren't going to be the source of their fear. We're not going to be the one that is abusive towards them. And then we have to go further than that and actually show them that we are going to care for them and love them and support them and to keep them safe. It does mean that we can't just keep passing this horse on, because they end up kind of doing as they're told, because they have trust and confidence in us as the handler. And if we move them onto another horse owner, then they have to reestablish that trust and the confidence. But we can certainly take them away from the all humans are bad into this human is okay. So the other thing that we can see, and this is our second pillar of our holistic horse handling program, is being a compassionate leader. So being able to consistently show up for our horse, to be able to set boundaries, expectations and follow through on them, which is super important because our horses are big and they can push us around and they can hurt us and they get scared of things and then they can take us out in their fear. So it's being able to show up as a leader worth following, but from a place of compassion and understanding for what your horse actually needs to be able to follow you. So you don't want to be, the tyrant that the only reason why the horse is following you is for fear of retribution. You want to be, showing them that you are a quality human that they can trust and be confident in to make good choices for them. So what it comes down to is every situation you put yourself into with your horse is this situation going to instill faith, trust and confidence in me as their handler? And is it going to bring us closer together, or is it going to drive a wedge in the relationship? Why are you doing, what you're asked asking your horse to do? Like, why are you doing that with them? Is it of benefit to them, or is it of detriment to them? If you're consistently overfacing yourself and your horse because you're trying to reach your goals rather than take like an awareness into where your horse is at and what they need support wise for you to reach your goals, then we keep pushing the wedge into the relationship and then we're showing our horses that we're not somebody that they can be that they can trust and be confident in. Whereas if we listen to our horse, we support their needs, and we build positive experience on top of positive experience on top of positive experience, we will eventually get to that big challenge that we're aiming towards, with our horse having trust and confidence in us, both because like we have a good working relationship, we have a rapport with each other, and because we've built out that conversation and communication skills, and we've shown to our horse that we will listen to them and we will support them to be able to achieve these bigger challenges. So as I said, the horse that lacks confidence in its owner is not necessarily scared. It might not be showing the characteristic flight responses that we're used to seeing, but it might, be showing stubbornness, or it might be fighting with us a lot, or it might be getting flighty because it doesn't want to do what we're telling it to do and is scared about saying no to us. So if we look at our horses that are more sensitive and typically are people pleasers, we end up getting the flighty behaviors purely because they don't like saying, like they don't feel okay with what we're asking them to do, and so we get them closer to threshold by asking more of them than what they feel confident doing or confident in doing with or for us. Whereas if we see the horses in, more of like that pushy quadrant of personality type, like our heavier horses like Percherons and Clydes, if we kind of are asking more of them than they're confident with, we can see more pushy behaviors from them. So we're going to have a look at a couple of different horses so that we can see the difference between a horse that has experienced trauma and a horse that is just requiring more leadership from us. So horses that have experienced trauma previous to us or abuse or are scared of humans in general tend not to want to be caught or cornered. They are always looking for an escape route, and if they can't find the escape route, they will take you out. You will have them tend to run away from you. They'll be scared of having the halter on. You might find that once you have the halter on, they're very submissive though, because they understand, from their experience, it's basically like a learned helplessness that they need to do their best to just, do as they're told. But you can see that the horses that have had that trauma response are fearful of touch. They're fearful of what you're going to do to them. They back away from you. They're uncomfortable with you in their space. They might be uncomfortable with tools that have been used on them, like whips and lunge whips and ropes and saddles and bridles and that kind of thing. We do see horses with a lot of problems with regard to the acceptance of the bit, if the bit has been used as a tool for abuse. So these horses are very much going to be on the cusp of the flight response all the time. It won't take much to get that startle response triggered. It could be a twig snapping, it could be you moving too quickly, it can be you just sneezing, little things that, sudden movements where they don't know what to expect. They're going to run away from you, and if they don't feel like they have an exit strategy, they're going to try and find it rather than focus on what you're doing. And if you don't create an exit, then they will take you out in the process of getting away from you. So the things that we're looking for to do with our horses that have experienced trauma is to build up their trust and confidence in us, that we are going to be kind. So we're going to use lots of positive reinforcement and treat training with these guys for them to feel safe around us. and build up a more positive relationship with us and the tools that we're going to use on them. And we focus a lot on our cueing and our communication and helping our horse feel safe than on so much of our whip tools, or like the tools that we're going to use on them for yielding and setting boundaries and whatnot. Because basically with these guys, we're going to be, you know, trying to bring boundaries down, because those boundaries are them feeling unsafe around humans, and then teaching them like respectful manners of how to work safely around humans once those boundaries come down. So the boundaries their walls don't just come down and then they're perfectly behaved horses. Like, we still need to show them how to walk with us on the lead safely, not standing on top of us, not going over the top of us, just being able to be clear and consistent and follow through on our expectations. So our horses that are basically, you know, just testing out who we are, like testing us a lot, not doing what we ask, kind of digging their heels in and giving us lots of resistance, but aren't showing significant flighty behaviors, tend to be just, you know, requiring leadership from us. And so the way that I talk to my students about this is, you know, if a toddler asks you to do something, would you listen? And so some of my students would say depends on what they ask me to do, whereas some of my other students who obviously have never had toddlers will say hell no. And so then I say, all right, well, if the toddler asked you to cross the road in front of a truck, would you listen? And then that would be like a resounding no. So what you want to do with your horse that is constantly testing you and or like, you know, they can be super reactive and spooky but not fearful of you, is just be like it's hard to say just be a better leader, but showing your compassionate leadership qualities, being able to clearly set expectations, clearly follow through on them so that your horse knows what's expected of you. Make sure that you are not being the toddler to your horse. So this is where, you know, the horse is testing boundaries. They might be trying to drag you places. They might be going over the top of you. They might be saying no to you a lot, even though they don't have a good reason for saying no. And so this, you know, this is quite challenging as a skill development in itself. Like, you know, it's very difficult if you're a beginner to be able to show your horse that you're a good leader, because they just see you as a toddler due to your lack of experience. But even as an intermediate amateur rider, there's going to be situations that you put yourself in that you're not particularly well skilled at, and you're trying to get your horse to do it anyway. But then even as, you know, a professional, is you still have to put the time into the horse to show them that they can trust you, and to build faith, confidence and trust in you through the experiences that you have together. You've got to show up for them so that they know that you're going to be kind, but you're going to be clear, and you're going to follow through on your ask. So the thing about your compassionate leadership skills is that it does take time, and it is when you know, we try to simplify things and we take the approach of because I say so, instead of compassionate leadership skills where we're setting boundaries and then seeking connection, and then setting boundaries and then seeking connection, and setting boundaries and reconnecting. If we just try and push and bully and push our horse into behaviors through force, then, you know, that's how we end up with the horses that are scared of humans, and we create those trauma responses ourselves. So the compassionate leadership skills is what I see as that bridging experience for our horses, so that they can be good horses that know how to look after their humans, because they've had a good leader lead by example. So if we can set boundaries and expectations, be clear, follow through, but then circle back around and reconnect, create scenarios and experiences where we're building relationship and building confidence, trust and faith in each other, rather than putting the wedge in with each other, then over time you're going to build out the relationship with the horse to have trust, faith and confidence in you. It's not a quick fix. It's not like, you can just get them to move their feet and then they'll see you as a leader worth following. You can't just clip them with the lead rope and then they see you as a leader worth following. It's how you show up for them every time you work with them. They're not silly. They understand what they want in a leader, and if you're not showing that, then they stop following you and they stop doing what you're asking of them, and they don't follow your lead. So it's getting to understand your horse well enough to know what they look for in a leader as well, because each horse is going to have slightly different requirements of what they want that leadership to look like. And as I said, this is the second module of our holistic horse handling program, where we give you different lesson plans to show up as a compassionate leader worth following, so that you have a horse that enjoys learning and asks to be ridden and working towards being a powerfully connected team. So if you're interested in, creating lessons that bring you and your horse closer together and getting an understanding of how to communicate more clearly with your horse and be able to set yourself up as a compassionate leader, check out the link and have a look at our holistic horse handling program. Until next time, happy trails.